What up, Josh?
What's up, man?
You excited to come to Miami?
Of course, man. That is my favorite place. That's where I'm going to retire.
Josh is coming in for that F1 weekend, so everybody his excitement is coming through the camera.
Honestly, I was like, okay, I got to plan a fishing trip. I got to go dive. We're going to go to the races. And yeah, there's so much stuff to do in Miami, man. It's unreal. I'm in Dallas, and you can drive out to the woods a little bit, but there's not a lot to do here compared to sunny Florida.
And then there's the other side, which is me, which I grew up here, so I'm used to it. And I'm like, okay, now I want to get away from traffic, or I want to be a little slower, or like I want an easier airport. So there's two sides to it. Before you get into the business side, way cooler to go into like the personal side first, right? So give us a little background on Josh. You were born, and then what happened?
Grew up raised by a single mom. This is the part that I think that a lot of people need to hear, is that I was able to witness my mom go from, not having a lot when I was real little to where she started to achieve success. And I was able to see her evolve and change and grow. Fast forward, when I got in my teens, I started getting in trouble, man. I got in a lot of trouble, and I don't say that lightly. By the time I was 15, I had already been sent to boys' homes and institutions for a total of about a year of my life, maybe a little longer.
It's like 8% of your life.
Yeah, at that time, right, exactly. I got in trouble young. I guess I got it out of my system. Honestly, I've always loved business. When I was in 6th grade, I made a deal with our teachers, or with my teachers. We had TVs that had clocks on them in our classroom. And if I got all my work done, they would let me watch Bloomberg. Business has always fascinated me. I love the idea of, going 0 to 1, having a machine that you built that you can refine, make it more productive. And over the recent years, what's been really cool is not only building that machine and making it productive, but also seeing how the machine can change the lives of the people that are in it. So, sorry, I'm starting to go down this thing. So through getting in trouble, I learned that I was an entrepreneur. I got in trouble. I was going to school. I started doing better. When I was 16, I moved in with my dad. He and I didn't have a great relationship. We didn't really know each other. We were very similar, but we didn't really know each other. And I moved in with my dad at the advice of a counselor, get to know myself too through my father. Apparently, I went to a local party in this new city of mine. I flirted with the wrong guy's girlfriend. This is a true story. I got beat up by 3 guys. They hit me from the back, in the back of the head. I was in like a dark alley kind of a thing. I was bleeding internally. I woke up in the hospital. Well, a bunch of stuff happened, but it's very blurry. But I ended up at one point waking up in the hospital. They were in the process of telling my mom that I had about 45 minutes to live, that I was had lost so much blood. They were doing blood transfusions. They had a doctor picked up by a police officer and brought to the hospital because it was like that urgent. This is the craziest part of the story. This hospital was a newer hospital, and on the weekends, they only had one emergency room open at a time, or one operating room open at a time. And there was a lady in there who had gotten in a car accident, and they had to get her husband to sign off on basically allowing 2 surgeries to happen. They were going to effectively stabilize her, have her monitored with people, and then rush me in, right? He did not, there was nothing that would have required him to agree. And had he not agreed, I don't even know if I would still be here. So all of this stuff happens. And I found that, do you know what a paradigm shift is, Alex?
Sure. Yeah.
I've just had so many throughout my life. It was in that moment when I got back and got better, I was like, okay, I got to do something.
How old are you?
I can't. At this time, I'm 17. Then I found out my dad has cancer, and he owns a business. He owns a furniture company, so I go work for him. Business is doing all right. This is during right before Hurricane Katrina. I don't know if you remember that, but that was yeah. This is right when that happened. And I'm working for my dad, and then my mom lost her job. So this job, I watched her go from minimum wage to one of the top income earners in the country, and she effectively lost everything overnight. So I was like, okay, what am I going to do? I have to take my mom, was there for me when I was a little asshole, and I got to support her. My dad's struggling. Yeah, I had to step up. I was engaged at the time. My ex was in school. I wasn't great at school. I tried, didn't work out. I was reading a business journal, and it was talking, and this is 2006, 2005.
So right before, it went a little more, and then right as you're out a couple years later.
So I was looking at this business journal because my father's company sold commercial like office furniture. So I would cold call the companies in there and try to find them. But I mean, I wasn't making enough to like support people, right? And his company wasn't doing great either, and he had cancer at the time. So I'm reading this Dallas Business Journal that's talking about how great residential real estate is. And I see these numbers, it's like ranking the office's production. And I don't know, like, I think that's what these offices are making. And so I'm like, damn it, I'm getting into real estate. That's what I'm doing. And the rest is history. I signed up on my mom's credit card for real estate school, barely made it out of the classes, and that would have been 2006.
I'll give you a funny one, and we'll get back to you. So when I started real estate, I bought Mortgages for Dummies, the little yellow book. I had no idea what a mortgage was. And it wasn't Google. I couldn't talk to AI on my phone. It was like, what is a mortgage? Like the little yellow. And I was like, oh, this is the mortgage. Because I didn't have any either.
Dude, I got licensed, and I remember I was doing my first contract. I went to the Keller Williams lady and I go, hey, I know this is a terrible question, but what is earnest money? And I remember her looking at me like, how did you pass the test?
The answer is always B. I put B for everything.
Yeah, I was like, statistically.
Right.
But yeah.
If you could, fun question. If you could have a beer with anybody in the world, who would it be?
Oh, man.
It could be fun. It could be serious. It could be back in the day. It could be now. Who would it be?
I mean, the cliche answer.
Justin Timberlake.
Would be, I know, but Jesus would be great. But like, I would also say like Da Vinci.
Okay.
Like Da Vinci, all the Stoics, every one of them. Those people, I mean, Caesar. If you think back to when, Da Vinci, like Da Vinci's time, he didn't have access to so many things. So to be as ahead of his time as he was, it's fascinating to me. And I just want to know why. Nikola Tesla, that's a story where the better product failed.
Yep.
But then it still wins. So, but like, that's fascinating because it's not always about the better product, right? Sometimes it's about the
distribution or product market fit or all the things that make it stick, for sure.
Tesla didn't have he was a scientist. He wasn't a business person, not even close. He was a terrible business person.
Okay. Now on the business world.
Sorry, that's a really tough question.
I know. Look, that's why I asked it, because no one expects the answers oftentimes, right? So on the Myers home buyer side, so walk us through a little bit of the history of the company. Walk us through the history, walk us through the problems you're solving, walk us through what's going on the Dallas-Fort Worth side. So walk us through just the experience share on the business building side.
Yeah, so Myers is an established licensed wholesale company. So, we are a new style wholesaler where all of our agents are licensed. We partner with other real estate agents to help them wholesale in a legal and safe way. Our entire mission here at Myers is to help people build businesses worth having. I think Myers Home Buyers is the future Keller Williams Realty or Remax, but we're specifically on this. We call it Resi-mercial. It's like this hybrid between residential and commercial, where our asset is residential, but we think about it like commercial, right? It's all about cap rate, yield. It's all about appreciation over time. What kind of tax benefits we're getting on it. And that's very different than the traditional brokerage. And, that evolved in my time as a real estate agent. I became one of the top 5 Keller Williams agents in the country. I was ranked in the Wall Street Journal in the top 50. At the peak of my career, my team was doing about 1,400 deals a year or so.
Awesome.
And a mentor of mine pushed me into the investment side and said, you can only build wealth through assets or products, not services. That has haunted my dreams ever since that saying. I was told that in 2012. I immediately went out and bought 2 houses. Then in 2013, I did 34. 2014, it was over 100. And then 2015, it was a little over 300, and we kept buying more and more and more houses. Now, I started as a flipper. I started as a home flipper.
I imagine liquidity was the world, right? You needed to get in and out, get the money moving.
Bingo. That was my problem. And the truth is like, because I had just gone through the recession, I saved 90% of my income. I was terrified of debt. I did not want to borrow money from anyone. And so I was pretty much bootstrapping these deals, every one of them.
Deal by deal. How fast can you get in and out?
Right. And I could peak out a little over 100, buy, fix, and flip. And then we had to create a grading system to determine length of time for rehab. We created a whole matrix on planning our capital. It was hard to manage my capital that way. But what happened was I actually met a guy who was a wholesaler. I started giving him the excess inventory, the stuff I didn't want, and he started selling it off. It was actually a great relationship. I bet he probably made $6-7 million off of our relationship. And yeah, it was definitely a win-win. But over time, that person shifted to doing some other things, and the opportunity to create Myers came up. But I went back to what that mentor said. You can't assets or products. So I've been trying to figure out how do you productize wholesale? And if you think about it, this is one of the examples that I got hung up on service versus product. And I called that mentor was McDonald's. It's a restaurant. Providing you food or making you a meal is a service. But what he explained to me then, and this was a weird paradigm shift that I had to have. McDonald's customer is the franchisee. McDonald's productized a business. The business is the service. There's a reason McDonald's isn't centrally owned. Now, that was kind of a big deal for me. When I thought about that, I was like, okay, so if I can build this wholesale operation, give it the right structure, right accountability, licensing, training, etc., perhaps I can productize what these offices look like. The same way Keller Williams, Remax, all of them productized a brokerage, right? So that is what Myers is today. And yeah, that's my North Star, man. I love the investment space, and I think it's growing so fast.
Are you thinking of not like a white label, but like a franchisee type of model kind of structure?
Yeah, not white label. For example, I had Josh DeShong Real Estate with Keller Williams. There may be, John Smith team at Myers Home Buyers.
Yep.
But we do not do anything with consumers. We are non-competitive to traditional real estate agents. We are partners with those agents.
Think of how much time you can save a wholesaler starting off with the process, procedures, life lessons, everything that is giving you white hairs. They'd be like, hey, I already screwed that up. Like, let me tell you with the answer to that. Cool. So who do you think the core customer is today for Myers? The B2B, B2C? Is it the seller, the investors, the person who wants to grow their wholesale platform? Who do you think the core customer is?
It is agents that want to get into investing. That's it.
Who want to be part of the cap table. Got it.
No. Agents who want to invest. So if you get into real estate and you don't want to go put a sign in a yard and represent people and show homes, and you want to be on the investment side, my agents are my customer.
Cap table is they want to be owners. They want to start.
Oh yeah.
They want to start being part of the equity of the upside of all that, and not just the transaction part of it.
Yeah, I tell everybody this. Our business now is about recruiting and training. That's it. They are my customers, and if they can leave me and make more money, I'm failing.
Interesting.
Because the problem with this business, in the investment business, is the moment you get somebody good, you train them up, they do really well, then they leave, right? And you can't blame them, right? We've all been here and done that. Like, I don't blame anybody for wanting success. So one thing that a lot of hard lessons I had to go through to learn this, but I learned that you have to lead with making others successful. You have to lead with enabling other people to build wealth. And if you don't do that, then you're never going to actually build any wealth.
Yeah, I like it. So thinking about the entrepreneurial journey, looking back at the war stories and life lessons, what would you have done different starting to scale the company? What's the one thing that kept you up at night with a whole bunch that you're like, all right, that sucked. Should have done that differently.
There's a list. My partners and I joke about writing a book. At one point it was going to be called Decade with DeShong, and now I think it's Decades with DeShong. I've always described my career like a video game, and you have to get through these different levels, right? And every single time you hit your ceiling, there is some new skill, some new lesson you have to learn in order to effectively get back to it. I have made every mistake possible. I prioritize myself over people. I've that for a while, on and off. You know, I'm always inventing, but sometimes when you build businesses, you can't invent with the cashier. I always try to bring the cashier into the invention. Like, I want them to be in the table at the desk with me, figuring out what we're gonna do next, right? So I think I could have set far more boundaries, right? Like, here's a classic example: accountants doing finance work and finance people doing accounting work, right? They need to focus on what they're absolutely the best at, and just keep that.
I destroyed that one hardcore with, I've got a lot of experience telling my accountants to do things that I needed when they had an entire list of things to close on the books, and they're like just short circuit and die because you're like, they're like, what just happened? I had an entire day planned out. What do you mean? Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah. I you know, the biggest mistake though I think I ever made, man, was there was a period of time where I went through some stuff personally. I lost my brother and some other family members, and I didn't know, I'm not gonna say I was asleep at the wheel, but I made a lot of moves. They weren't part of who I am. I brought in people that, you know, culturally didn't totally, they were awesome, super smart people, but we weren't the same. What I did was, you know, the term imposter syndrome?
For sure.
So I had gone from, you know, starting a business with $500 and needing to support my mother to, you know, at our peak, right before this decision, we're doing $80 million, $90 million a year in revenue, netting millions and millions of dollars. We're doing very, very well. But as that starts to happen, like, I remember one time, Alex, I was in downtown, I was in Ginza in Tokyo, Japan, and I was in the top of a high rise overlooking, it was nighttime. It was like 8 o'clock at night, and Japanese, they work nonstop. So it was like 8 o'clock at night. I'm looking out this window in the boardroom, and all these men are about to come in and meet with me, and I'm presenting on some stuff. And I just remember being like, who the fuck am I? And like, this is like, I just felt so out of place. So I brought people in who I thought fit that role. I brought people in who I thought knew a lot more than I did. And in many respects they did. I'm not gonna say, but I was an operator. I'm the guy who, look, I'm maybe the owner of the business. I'm also the janitor. If I need to be in sales, I'm also in sales. I did accounting once for 3 months. Now, I made a lot of mistakes, but
the books were probably all screwed up.
Yeah. It took a year and a half to get that fixed. That was years ago, thank God. But the point is like, being at the top isn't sexy, but you need to be confident in yourself and your ability. If you get there, that was you. It wasn't anyone else. That's it. I'm not trying to give you a TED talk on that.
No, I'm going to give you a nugget. So I was reading a book, I think it's called Think Again by Adam Grant, professor, psychology, or whatever, UPenn. And he had a thing about imposter syndrome, right? A lot of people get into it. Switched my mindset when I read the book. Instead of thinking of the imposter syndrome, it pushed me to like, why can't I do that? Instead of thinking like, I feel terrible, I can't do that. It's like, no, what if I switch my mindset to, but why did that guy get to that level? Why can't I be good enough to do that, right? So it switched me a little bit from like the doubt to like playing offense instead of playing defense. Because like, am I not going to work hard enough? Don't I think I'm smart enough? Can I be humble enough, right? One of those things. And it's really helped me the last couple of years think of like, instead of, no, I can't do that too. Okay, what do I need to do that?
Yeah.
A little bit different of a switch. Cool. So look, on the thinking more of the transaction world and the real estate world, because I think we can all learn a lot from your thousands and thousands of transactions. Start with like, what does a typical process look like for a deal in Myers? And let's get into more of the nitty gritty after that.
Yeah, so Myers is a very fast transaction cycle. Every week we release properties. A slower week is 3 properties. A busy week's about 20. We host kind of like an open house with invite-only investors. If investors work with us, they have to sign disclosures, you know, stating they're not consumers, etc. But they go out to see all of these houses, and then they put their offers, their highest and best offer, and whoever gets it wins the contract. After that, we go to close. We buy the house, and then immediately after, somebody else buys it.
And then how long is, you know, with the economy changing, interest rates, cash deposits, you know, DSCR loans, how long does the process take today for you guys? Let's say from showing it to listing it to closing.
We have a buyer on every one of our deals within 7 days of originally contracting it. Our closing time right now is a little over 3 weeks average, but we can close relatively quick. I will say, yes, it's not what it was 2 years ago in terms of real estate investors. They're not, you know, one point I could have thrown a rock and hit one in the head. Like, it was crazy. Everybody was a real estate investor. But the truth is now investors like myself are back. Investors that know what like actual actually look at this stuff, look at yield, look at risks, look at the asset class, like the growth, like we're back. I'm seeing a lot of slowdown from the HGTV people that want to, do their first flip or whatever. Like it's just the real investors are back and there's margin again. That's what I'm seeing, at least so far.
I'm seeing opportunities too. I'm seeing people run away from the fire when they should be running towards the fire right now.
I don't think they can afford to. I think with regulation, capital constraints, I think, we tell everybody you have to win in at least one of three areas on a deal: the debt, the construction, or the buy. If you don't have one of those three, you're going to lose money today.
The old saying in real estate is always the third one. You make all your money in the purchase, all of it. Like you cover your margin of safety, all of it.
That's the easiest one for most people to do it. But like, I was talking to an investor the other day who had 300 grand sitting in the bank, and he was like, I can't find any, 70 cents minus. And I was like, buy something that's lower risk, pay more than 70 cents. Like buy in, the most desirable city in North Texas, pay 85 cents, but you don't have this cost of capital that everybody else is dealing with, right? So like pro forma that out, because people are leaving money on the table when it's a good time if you have capital. It's a great time if you have cash.
I agree. So someone getting into real estate, when you guys look at a deal on the underwriting world, what do you guys consider? What do you guys look at? What should people stay away from? I know it's a loaded question because you have so many things to look at, but from 100,000 foot view, right? Like when you guys are looking at a transaction, is it good or not? What's your take on it? What do you guys, what's your spin on it, on that?
If the transaction's good or not? Just like
on a transaction from a high level, is it mostly driven on appreciation, on cash flow, on like debt? Like what are you guys looking at for, hey, we should do this deal?
Okay, this is actually something I could teach an entire class for a whole day on, because we have an algorithm that quantifies demand in an area and the risk associated with that area. And it's not an algorithm like I could literally sit down with you and show you how to do it on paper. But effectively, higher risk areas, we need bigger discounts. Lower risk areas, we need lower discounts. And that doesn't necessarily have to do with like, are you familiar with DFW, Dallas at all?
Yes.
Okay, so are you familiar with like Highland Park and Fair Park by chance? Okay, Fair Park is a rougher area that's slowly getting gentrified, but it's been, there's lots of crime. It was responsible at one point. The Fair Park area was partially responsible for Dallas having such a high crime rate.
So it's more affordable than the nice area.
Yeah, so Highland Park is probably one of the wealthiest cities in Texas, if not in the country. A lot of people would assume Highland Park is low risk, but because of the price point, Highland Park is higher risk than Fair Park is.
That's margin of screw up, for sure.
Right. And so what I think you find is a lot of people going out and they see, I can make 100 grand on this, but it's not properly sized, right? I love this. Like my salespeople tell me this every day. Every day. They talk to an investor and they just want to make 30 grand on a deal. I said, all right, they have a $3 million property. They can make $3,030,000. Are they going to do it? No, they're not. So it's all a matter of like, what would we buy at is based on how are properties being absorbed, but it's also based on external factors like the 10-year. Because think about it, if you're an investor, you're going to be looking at all of your options. And if you can invest in a 10-year and get an equivalent return and appreciation isn't on the table, or you don't need the tax benefits, where you're going to put your capital towards towards treasuries, right, or bonds.
Real estate. I don't care what people say. It's passive, but it's not always passive. So
right.
You got to have a spread between real passive investors and like things that you might have appreciation on.
People don't think about these deals as investments. They are not thinking about it as like, okay, I need to get a 7% return, 27% cash on cash. Okay, this investment versus that investment. And so I think the reason I'm answering your question in two ways. One is we look at basically the month's supply over time to determine how low we need to buy a house and measure out risk. Separately, we also look at what's happening in the public markets. What are the other opportunities out there? I'm an investor myself, and I invest in angel investing. I invest a ton in equities, oil and gas, you name it, crypto. I accidentally bought 36 crypto miners at one time. So like I'm an investor. If I'm not willing to put my money in real estate, that's a problem.
Or a leading indicator, right? Or it's like if I'm not willing to, and I'm an expert in this field, why would somebody else do it? They might do it because of diversification, because they might have like a, a tech job or a regular job and they're trying to get into bricks. I always find it funny when people in other industries want to get into real estate. You can touch it, feel it, it's tangible. And then people in real estate want to get into other industries to switch it, to switch their risk profile.
And to be clear, now I'm more bullish and more excited than I have been in since 2018. That 2018 was the last time no, that's a lie. I bought something during COVID, like right when they did the shutdown, because I was worried about inflation. But last time I really bought something was 18, like a lot. And I think I'm about to start buying again. That's exciting to me. It's been a long time.
I approve this message.
Yeah,
I definitely think it's a very smart time to start running towards the fire.
And I'm not the look. I don't want to ever we're not our wholesalers, our team, our agents. We're not the cushy type. We're not going to fluff ARV. We're not going to pad rehab. Like if I wouldn't invest in real estate, I've always been open with people. I wouldn't do this right now, or I wouldn't do this unless like the three things. Unless you got one of those three, you should not do real estate right now. But if you can get one of those three and you know what you're doing, right now is the time to kind of get an outsized return.
So, I get what you're excited about. I am too. What scares you?
It has nothing to do with real estate. That's what scares me.
My kids, your kids scare you.
Yeah, that scares me. I would say if Trump is successful at bullying the Fed, I don't really care about a political preference on this statement I'm going to make, because it's like it's not a political statement. There is an implied value with the Federal Reserve's backing of the US dollar. The Federal Reserve was established as this independent third party, whatever. That component is critical to the value that has been established. If the president of the United States can control that value, I would make an argument that we're going to see some very, very volatile effects.
You think on the economy, on the US dollar, just high level on the market? What are you thinking?
So I think I saw this. I called one of my business partners. I explained this because sometimes I get a little. I was a little freaked out. I'm not gonna lie when I started thinking about this scenario. And I think the dollar crashes in that world. I think that if the dollar crashes, everything crashes. But it's so now it's making its way. This type of theory is making its way around Reddit now, and it's being mentioned here and there.
Rabbit hole. Right. Don't go too deep.
I know. I don't do the Reddit rabbit holes. That's Whitney, my fiance. She does the Reddit rabbit holes and gives me the cliff notes. But it's starting to people are starting to talk about this, because value is it's a thing that has nothing to do with fiat currency. Value is an implied thing based on what we all unanimously agree can be done with it or solved or learned from it, right? So there are these laws of business or laws of economics, and when it comes to value, if the Federal Reserve does that, that could be the worst case scenario for all of us, irrespective of what industry you're in. But the thing that actually freaked me out was a few days after I realized this, I then see the announcement for the crypto reserve, the United States crypto reserve, which if I was about to push on value, or if I was about to take that risk, I would absolutely back into a hedge, which would either be gold or it would be crypto, because you're going to need to have a backup plan if all hell breaks loose. So that's when you say what scares you, that scares me, and that's a pretty bad reality. But I don't think that's actually going to happen.
Hey, thanks for bringing it up. I mean, we could all learn from what we see in our world. I like it. So on the finding deal side, my brain's all over the place right now, but
you're right.
In your world, in your market, which is Dallas, Fort Worth, and that region, any creative ways you guys are finding deals? I know a lot of people are running away from the industry, which is awesome if you're trying to gain market share. Any fun new strategies you guys are using? You guys see that you're like, hey, that didn't exist 5 years ago?
No, literally everything we're doing now, just being honest, is like the stuff that did work 5 years ago that stopped. It's all starting to kind of work again, because all of the people who are out making false promises are out of the market. So our customer acquisition cost has fallen drastically over the last 4 months. Now our production volume has been low. January of this year was I'm 36 now. January of this year was the worst January I've had since I was 21 years old. But that being said, I'm starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel. And I actually think there's an argument that, barring anything major macro, I think there's an argument that real estate is going to go gangbusters.
Who do you think is scared? The sellers or the buyers right now? There's a giant gap right now, right? Between bid and ask. Who do you think is more scared to transact?
Every week, I think my opinion's changing there. I would say buyers, but it's very interesting. Sellers, inventory is up. Inventory nationally and is up through the roof, but it's still not anywhere close to recessionary numbers. So perspective is everything. So it's up. That looks great. So sellers are obviously like, oh, I'm a little nervous. Buyers are scared. Honestly, it's fear. If you look at most of the data that's available and provided, there's some cracks, but not really. Again, the tariff thing will be interesting. We'll see how that all plays out. But I think everyone's fear just will start to go away, and that's what I think you're gonna see everything go gangbusters. Because I think this is all self-induced.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of the herd mentality. Everybody follows what everybody else is doing.
I've always said, though, I don't mean to cut you off. I've always said recessions make billionaires, expansions make millionaires, and the reason is because there's only a few people who don't follow the herd.
Yeah, 100%. As we're playing with more and more with technology and AI and product market fit and phones and all this, crazy internet. Any tools that you're using today that you didn't have when you were 21 that you're like, holy shit, I wish I would have had that earlier. Like anything that people could learn from or borrow?
Oh, you may hate my answer here.
Paper and pencil.
We developed chatbot and we did it ourselves. It's not like a license by a third party, and it interacts with our customers. It'll set appointments, do follow-up and customer service reviews. We have, recruiting systems that we never had before that help us stay on top of people. The truth is, dude, I am cutting most of that stuff out. Okay, there's a product out there. I'm not going to say its name, but it rhymes with Investor Rift.
Yep.
Okay. And as an example, we had something similar to it that we had built internally in-house. So you type an address in, it pulls up the list of most likely investors. It was actually kind of a little more sophisticated because it would exclude some of the funds, and then it would do a count, and it was cool. Ugly UI because we built it for internal use, right? But every time we would give those lists to our people, we found that there was a 4x productivity increase when we did not give a list to a salesperson. 4 times. So what we found was when people are going out and hunting and they're having to find the right investor and talk to their friends and family, they actually built relationships. Whereas if I give them a list, they default to cold calling. And and Danny knows Jack and Fred at Dominion pretty well. And, I was having a friendly debate with Jack that, I've spent millions of dollars on AI, and, my business partner, that's what he was. He was an AI engineer at Google and Microsoft, like back when machine learning was the hot thing.
That
right?
was like 3 years ago. Or 2 years ago.
Yeah. It was like the other day, pretty much. Yeah. But, I love what AI can do in theory, but I have yet to witness it actually make a difference in my business. If anything, it's become a distraction, and it's made people lazy. And that is I want someone to prove me wrong. I'm already spent this money trying to figure out different ways to use it, analyze this data set to give me a competitive edge. And yes, we have use cases where it's great, but it's not gonna make or break me. Do you know what I mean?
I get it. You're also in an industry that is so big and there's so many transactions that happen that you have enough water running through the pipe that you've seen the life cycle over and over and over again. It's not gonna you're not gonna digitize houses. People are not gonna live in the ethernet, right? People are gonna live in places. You need the capital, you need the financing, you need the rehab. You're in a real world business. So what is, someone getting into this world, what's the biggest mistake you've seen new investors make?
The first one is not being math based. If they're not doing if you can't tell me what your cap rate is, you should not be buying and holding any real estate. If you don't actually know why you're doing what you're doing, don't do it. And I would say I see more people doing something without having any type of framework, or it's FOMO. Everyone's scared, seeing their friends do it, or saw their friend did it, or people are, getting laid off and they're like, oh, I'll just flip houses. That's not the answer necessarily. Real estate is the by far the best asset class. It changed my life, and I want everyone to own it. But they need to have a baseline understanding for what it is. Again, it's kind of like if you bought a bond that paid 5%. You would know what you're doing. You get it. Okay, I'm buying a bond. This money is going to be used for something, and I'm going to get 5%. It's a loan, and then I get my principal back. That's how you have to think about real estate. Commercial, that's normal. Residential, the investors haven't quite got that skill set yet. So that's what I would say that I think the biggest mistake is. The second one I have to throw out is they try to save pennies at the expense of speed. So when I was flipping houses, I was forced to learn a lesson, and that is speed matters more than money. Even if let's say I had 20 flips going on right now, and let's say the market started shifting, holding them and fighting it is the worst thing I could do. Selling it, taking the losses quickly is one of the best things. So now I've gotten myself back into a position of being able to see the drop, right? So speed matters more than money. I see so many people, they hold themselves up for an extra dollar. And I'm about to sell like 3 houses from my portfolio, and they will all 3 be the cheapest houses in the neighborhoods. And they may get a bidding war, they may sell for a good price. I don't know. I have another investment I'm really wanting to make. So it is what it is. You see,
good advice. Yeah, that's amazing advice. Outside of your markets, anything that you're keeping your eye on, any markets that you're like, that might be interesting in the next couple of years, or anything that you see that it's not just your part of Texas?
Yeah, I like the Midwest. I like Michigan. I actually really like Detroit. I like Ann Arbor. I like those areas, a lot of it for climate change reasons, but also for climate change reasons, I like Florida.
Because of opportunities?
Yeah, because historically, the nature of the United States and our government and every government in history, they can't just be like, all right, well, everybody leave Florida. They're going to have to create some more support backing, or they reduce insurance, taxes, something's going to come down. And now all of a sudden this margin comes back out of nowhere. And so I actually, for the first time in a long time, am liking Florida again. I love Florida for that reason. I also think that the global warming is not that it's overblown, but I think that it probably will not be something I have to face too terribly bad. Yeah. So I think Florida's oversold. Detroit is underbought, if that makes sense.
I get it. I understand. Yeah, I'm interested in what happens in Florida specifically with condos. There's a lot of condo inventory coming on because of the whole 40-year recertification and what happens with the HOAs and, funding the HOAs for all the engineering projects. So I don't know what the hell's going to happen there, but there's going to be some sort of reckoning happening with the older generation who now gets huge reassessment bills because now you got to re-engineer or restructure or like this type of thing. I think there's definitely opportunities there. I don't know the answer to that one. I just think there's something there.
Yes, and I will also give you another piece to think that counters the idea of there's nothing there, is that the United States is amazing at kicking the can down the road. How many of our senators have houses in Florida? They're, the right answer, sure. Let it fall, just like in 08. Those companies should have gone under. They shouldn't have had a bailout, but they did get one. Why? Because politicians are selfish. And if it's going to hurt them, it ain't going to happen. And so that's where I go. I think that it's almost inevitable that there's going to be either tax or property tax or insurance reform to an extent in Florida that opens yield or margin up. I don't know, but it has to be.
Different perspective. Cool. Let's close out with this. So imagine you're a brand new investor and you worked for 3 years and you put aside $50,000. How would you handle that? How would you invest that in real estate? Stick to real estate. Real estate, you put 50K together with the financing options and the local markets and the price points. How would you invest that? Would you do it on your own? Would you invest with somebody? Like, how would you tackle that?
I would find a partner right now if I could. Perhaps I'd put the 50K up as my part of my sweat equity, but I would do whatever I could to minimize my cost of capital. So I would do an analysis to look at like, okay, if I had a 50-50 partner on this deal, and maybe I have a bunch of partners, right? I wouldn't be going into business with anybody. I'm just partnering, trying to come up with something that's a win-win. I'll handle the construction, whatever. I would be doing that. Sub 2. I personally think that is going to be a problem for a lot of people in the future, but would I not do 1 or 2? If I was an individual investor, I'd probably go do a couple. I would not deceive mortgage companies though. Sub 2, I love. Right now though, I actually am very bullish on buying. I think there's an argument that housing is going to go up quite a bit over the next 10 years. I think there's an argument that it's potentially undervalued right now. Not the opposite that everyone's thinking, like housing's about to crash. It's very unlikely. I would absolutely be going out looking for partners to buy flips. Maybe I would do a sub 2 or 2, but probably flips. I think it's the easiest place to make quick capital right now. And I would be doing the whole BRRRR thing, right? Maybe you're buying with the intent to buy everything as if you're going to flip it, but pro forma it out and look if you should keep it for a rental, refinance out of it. Again, I think it's the first time in a long time that I'm excited about like real estate
and holding real estate, appreciating. Yeah.
Yep. You know, I made a comment earlier. I'm selling some of my properties, but I'm selling those properties to buy other. I'm not selling them to buy crypto or equities. I actually am selling equities to buy property.
Cool. Questions for me? Anything you want to throw out? Anything that's in your brain? Anything that we might have to cut out later because there's a terrible answer for me?
What are you guys seeing on the sell to rent side with homeowners staying in their houses? What are the investors really wanting in that relationship? Like, well, how's that going?
So we're seeing a lot more demand from sellers. There's a lot more people across the US. The amount of people coming to us in foreclosure is eye-opening. They have equity, which is, you know, if you were in 2008 and you're like, hey, I'm in foreclosure, but I put 3% down and I'm way underwater, this is gonna take forever to get out. I get it. But the people coming to us right now who are in foreclosure is really eye-opening. I mean, we could help a lot of people because they have equity. It's in the bricks. The equity's in the bricks. On the investor side, we're definitely seeing people scared, right? Because a lot of people buying from us is not the big institutional, it's the local investor. And the local investor, a lot of times, they have X amount of capital. They don't have unlimited pockets where they're like, I'm ready for this. Let's go attack. They're the guys who bought 3 homes, 4 homes, 5 homes, trying to scale, but they don't have enough liquidity. Now, I see with the DSCR world, I say this all the time because I didn't start in single family world. The amount of financing available right now from this industry is insane. It's insane. Like before, when you were flipping homes, you probably didn't have a lot of credit and the lenders were hard money, 13 and 3%, or it was like you will go to a bank and they cap you out of 10 loans and it's like they have this restriction because of the buy box. Now with DSCR, it's in and out, right? So I think there's lots of opportunities there, but I think equity is still the problem, like their cash. Now we're fighting that with prepayments. So how we engineer a lot of transactions is the seller is cashing a lot of equity. They're able to contribute to the buyer and prepaying rent. That's helping. But we're seeing, it's offsetting the amount of equity needed to bring to the table, which is a huge, we engineer it that way, right?
That's awesome.
We're seeing lots in the Midwest. This model works really well in the Midwest. You said Michigan, we love Ohio, we love Kentucky, Tennessee, Missouri. But I think there's more and more people. Look, being honest, credit card rates are insane right now. And when people are making their payments, it's not bringing down the principal. It's just making their payments, survival, right? So we see lots of opportunity to help people using the liquidity. Like a lot of people, their equity went up, not because they did stuff to their house, not because they added a 3rd floor or whatever. It's just the world went up. The tide went up, all ships went up with it. So now
everybody's mad about inflation. But the only people who should be are people that didn't own a home.
A lot of people just bought a house, and if you bought a house 5-6 years ago, there's a really good chance that you were sitting on equity, not because you were awesome or you did it, because hey, the world went up. Well, a lot of times we're seeing our sellers like have the opportunity to have your house hit financial reset and help you in the long run. And you rode the wave up to now. If you take a little bit of a discount, you're still in the green by a lot, right? It's not like you're, oh my God, I lost everything I put into it, right? So we're definitely seeing more supply, and now on the demand side, we're starting to grow the investor base inside the company.
Would you say the cap rate is growing, or is it kind of the same? I think last time I looked at a deal from you guys, it was like around a 9 cap, which I think was pretty solid.
In nicer markets, it's like 9.5 to 10.5. I'm talking about nicer markets. You're talking about like an Arizona, Fort Worth, a Charlotte, right? When you go to secondary tertiary markets, it's like 11.5, 12%. So gross cap rates, because we haven't seen rents fall on the face of the earth. Like we're not in Austin and multifamily right now. A lot of these are Midwest, right? Our rent, a $250,000 home, the rent is $2,100 or $2,000. So it's still affordable, and we're super driven by the return to the investor, because in our model, it has to make sense for both sides, right? My joke is like, my mom is not buying the house and moving into it, right? It's an investor. They're like, hey, if I'm going to buy this house, it has to make sense for me. I'm not moving into it. How is it a win-win? If I'm an investor, you're thinking, hey, let me get some prepaid rent. Let me buy a little bit of discount, stay for a long time. Because the reality is, if you're the investor, you want the seller to be there for a long time, because why? Less problems for you, less concerns. Make this a triple net lease. Make this into as long as possible. So that's a long answer to saying
no.
There's a lot more sellers, buyers are a lot more scared.
I still love y'all's model. I think I told you before y'all did this, I've done it a few times. It's worked out 9 times out of 10. It works out really well when the homeowner stays, because there's still this pride of ownership almost. And I just had something go south on one.
After how many years, or after how long?
After two years. It was a 3-year lease. It's fine for them, it's fine for us, but I was getting an outsized return. I'm going to sell the property and I'm going to make money, right? So it's like I cannot complain one bit about it. So I love what you guys are doing. It's actually like inventive, right? It's
I'll
different.
close out on this, which is we've had hundreds of buyers. Not one has come back to us and said, "Oh my God, this was terrible. The seller was horrific." Like, not one. And like,
I can see it.
We see an opportunity that we honestly think could be a win-win across the board. And I don't know, we just want to keep growing the company when it comes to helping people.
I love it, brother. I love it. That's awesome, man. Well, thank you so much for having me on. It's a pleasure to catch up. Hopefully we can catch up when I'm in town.